Wow, guys, welcome back to the studio. Ryan, aka BloodShot Airbrushing, and as promised, a little bonus to the Reaper Cobra project. Yeah, that's the one. I got a banner I gotta put down with some writing, so we're gonna slap that on in there, and you guys can see how I do. Jibber jabber over. Time to get some work done, guys. Check it out. And the first thing we're gonna do to get this little video rolling, guys, is get a quick little placement, loose placement of where this banner is gonna be. And then with my double wide tape, I'm gonna mask that area off, being sure to keep the overlaps as thin as possible, and then using my fingernail just tuck it in so that the tape over top is pressed in nicely to the tape underneath. Now you saw me cut out that stencil out of the big piece of paper just so it was easier to manage and to see the placement of it. And now, guys, I'm cutting right on through that photocopy paper and the masking tape all at once. Now, this is delicate work. A very even pressure needs to be applied and not too hard so that you're scoring or worse, cutting right through that paint underneath. And there's real no way to tell you how much pressure I'm applying. It's a feel thing, guys. The more you do it, the more you get the feel for it. If you're afraid to tackle something like this, guys, you can always just cut out your outline of your banner on your cutting board and place it up that way, and then spray around the edge of it with some paint, and that'll give you an outline that you can then cut out just through your masking tape, and you're not doing the double cut through the masking tape and the photocopy paper, guys. And be sure when you're rolling that thing around the corners, guys, lift up that blade. Don't pivot in that corner, or that's a great way for you to dig that blade underneath that paint and lift that corner. Speaking of lifting, dig that blade underneath that masking tape and lift it one corner to the other, trying to pull it upon itself on a severe angle, not up and away, sort of upon itself, and that way you do alleviate any peeling problems. And if you do start to see it peeling, stop peeling from the direction you were headed and reverse and peel from the other way towards it, and that'll stop it from continuing to peel and going and being a big mess. And take it from me, I've been there. Alright, guys. And then I just masked this up with some masking paper that I believe I was using in video 2 of this series. Yeah, I just stuck it to the side and saved it for later. Applying my paint with a 50-50 rule, guys. Every layer of my opaque white is 50% over the layer I just previously sprayed. Making sure to dig out all the little fuzzies that can get stuck to the edge of the masking tape. And yeah, I got a pooch, so I get a few of them. But this is how I do, guys. Loosely build it up. I think that was about 4 coats of white. And then she's ready for color, and I'm just using my opaque white with a transparent Indian yellow and a transparent sepia to build up my tones. Now I actually got a little too dark here, guys, so for the second half here I'm going a little lighter with my coat, but being sure to keep it all consistent. And hopefully I can bang this off and nail it in the second attempt. And if you gotta do 3, so be it. Just keep going until you're happy. But keep it consistent, guys. You don't want to stop halfway through and then go back in with your whites and then find after you clear it that dark color fights from underneath. And you got one side darker than the other. At least this way, if there's any color that fights on through, it's consistent. And on with stencil number 1, guys. And take your time to line it up. Make sure you got it exactly where you need it. And now I'm just going in with straight sepia. And now is a great time to mention, guys, the opaque white I'm using is an Auto Air, Createx Auto Air opaque white. And the transparent colors I'm using for this, guys, my sepia tones and my Indian yellow, Well, those are both FW Rowney inks. They are an airbrushing ink. Crazy transparent and just great for building up color tones. Nice and slowly. Can't say it enough, guys. Build up these tones. Build them up, nice and slow. Nice and slow. And then fold back that portion of the stencil, guys, and on to the next. And we're just trying to make it look like there is a bit of a wraparound, that there are some pieces going in front, pieces going behind, and each piece has a bit of a flow to itself. And again, building up slow allows you to kind of, as you go, check it and be like, yeah, that's getting to be a little too dark. I'm going to stop here. Or, you know, I just haven't quite gotten that dark enough, and I'm going to keep going. But building it up slow allows you to make those decisions rather than just blasting in a fairly opaque brown and being like, well, that's done. No fixing is what it is. No, build up slow, guys, and that way you're able to make corrections. Easy as she goes. Well, you kind of see me fight with the stencil here a little bit. Make sure you fold that back. And then, yes, guys, just applying my tones. Again, keeping in mind where my light source is. Right about here. And being as the banner is the most upfront portion of this piece, the most forward object in this piece of artwork, guys, the light source is actually a little bit from behind. So I'm actually going to spend quite a bit of time on this, guys, toning it back, getting those shadows where I want them, and making sure that this thing rolls nicely, but nice and slow. Taking my time, making sure I'm happy with it. And you just saw me using stencil number 2, guys. I can only get so many layers out of stencil number 1 that you see here, so I did have to cut a secondary one. And as you can start to see, guys, it's starting to take some shape. Again, nice and slow. This isn't a race. If it is, I don't mind coming in last place, man. Because whoever puts the most time in, I guarantee you, is going to have the nicest results. Oh yeah. Alright guys, now going in a little bit more freehand. I shouldn't really need the stencil at this point. Everything's mapped out. And now I'm just going to continue to build these tones, get them a little darker. Keep it all sort of moving at the same time. What I do to one corner, I should keep consistent on all of them. And just keep building it up, guys. Keeping in mind, I want this thing to kind of look like it's coming towards you. So the brightest area will be the most forward portion of the banner. And the parts that roll back, well, you start to knock that back with a little bit of tone. Tricking the eye so that it thinks that it's actually moving away, when in reality, it's a flat surface. And again, guys, building it up a little darker. Taking my time. Adding a little bit of a darker tone to the bottom edge. Again, just making it look like this thing is moving away and rolling. Just slapping in some paint here and there to make it look like it's a little bit torn and tattered. I don't want this banner to look like it's brand new. As with everything else of this piece, it's got some age to it. And this banner is no different, guys. So this is how I done did it. This is how I got her done. And I'm pretty happy with that. I do have highlights to do yet, but we're going to hold off on those, guys. And now just a simple burnishing. Having a pencil that works is kind of crucial to this process. But yeah, guys, you just scribble on the back of your paper where your lettering is, or whatever you want to burnish onto your piece. I like using an old piece of paper towel just to sort of smooth it all out, making sure that it is covering the entire portion of those letters. You can tape it on or use the handy little hack that I taught you guys with these little magnets, as long as you're working over metal. And now, guys, all I am doing is using a pen. Now, for burnishing purposes, I have always found that the ballpoint pens work best, having those rolling points. seems to work better than just your standard pencil. Pencils can get caught and they can actually tear the paper and rip on through and scratch your paint underneath. We don't want that to happen, guys, so using a simple pen is how I found to be the way to go. And now on to some paintbrush work. Now there are a couple of ways to achieve this, guys. I've seen others use markers. You can use Stabilo pencil crayons, water-soluble pencil crayons, if that's the route you want to go as well. I'm using a paintbrush and paint. Keep it all under one school, under one house. That's how I do. And I'm just using my opaque Auto Air black, guys. Thinned out a little bit. Not much. Not much. And for my brush, well, this is a Kafka 5-0. That's right. 5 times the 0. One of my favorite little brushes, guys. It's actually a pinstriping brush for doing scroll work. But as you can see, it works just as beautiful for the water-based paints. And the reason why I like these long, bristled brushes, guys, is because it does hold a lot of paint. You're not going back to fill that brush up with paint every line. And as you can see right there, sometimes it has too much paint. So I just kind of flattened that brush out a little bit too much and got a dab of paint instead of a nice line. But a little Q-tip, rip off some of that cotton batting so it's nice and small. A little bit of saliva is all a guy needs. And there you go, guys. Like it never happened. And I don't stress when I have something like that happen, guys. I don't typically stop everything I do, go into panic mode and be like, I must fix this pronto. I typically finish what I was doing with that paint on that brush and then grab my Q-tip and do my appropriate fixes. Just how, oh, another one, guys. And while I'm here, a couple of areas need a little fixing. And just going through, making sure that everything's cohesive. It's all got the same sort of vibe throughout. Just moving back and forth from letter to letter. And here is where you're going to notice my first real hesitation with this T. Yeah, I'm not digging it, guys. It's looking too much like a J. I'm going to have to come back and address that in a little bit. And as I've got my paint flowing and my brush still rolling, I'm going to keep on going and finish off the rest of these letters. I will let that paint dry before I come back to fix that T, because I'm going to have to go in now and erase with an eraser what I drew on there with the burnishing process. But this is it, guys. This is how I do. It's not that crazy hard. A little bit of time with a paintbrush and you should be able to pull something fairly simple like this as well. I don't see why not. Before I get too far ahead of myself, guys, I am going to go back in with some tones close to the base for the banner. And any area where that black got cleaned, well, unfortunately, black being what it is, it did stain the paint a little bit. So here I am going in with a lighter tone, trying as best I can to match those tones in the banner in behind, and just trying to dab in a little bit of paint to get rid of that stain. And another thing I should mention about these long bristled pinstriping brushes, guys, because the bristles are so long, they actually work a bit like a rudder. So you might be a little bit shaky with your hand, but that brush sort of compensates for you and stabilizes the tip of that brush and gives you some nice even lines. Now there you saw me, guys, erasing it with an eraser, and I thought we learned this last time. A pencil that works is vital. I hope that landed in the garbage. Alright, guys, now that I got something I'm happy with, it's as easy as slapping on the paint. Bada boom, bada bang. That looks more like a T. Like I say, I was just reading a bit of a J out of that prior. but I think that addressed it quite nicely. I'm gonna say problem solved. Let me know what you guys think, guys. I love to hear the opinions of others. Would you have done it differently? Or did you like the J? Even though it made no sense. Alright, guys, in with my white tones, guys. Again, now this is my opaque white, using a little tiny bit of Indian yellow and a little tiny bit of sepia, just to give it a bit of a tan tone. Break it away from that bright, bright white. And just punching these top edges of the banner, helping it have a little bit of a 3D feel. And crisping some of these edges up too, where they got a little bit of overspray. But this is it. This is how I get it done, ever so carefully. And now just time lapse to blast through this back half. I think you guys get the gist. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line. And finally, guys, we are going in with our highlights. Now, this is a pure white, but very thinned out. And the reason why I do the highlights to the banner last is because if you did them prior to and you just left that lettering as is, then the lettering actually flattens out the banner because it doesn't have the same highlights as the banner does. Just one more tip for the brain box. Oh yeah. And now for Christmas time, where we peel back the masking to reveal the final product. And I'm pretty happy with this, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Off for clear she goes. And yeah, I know there's some snake spit on there. I do believe they call that venom. I didn't record that, guys. It's pretty straightforward. A little bit of airbrush work, a little bit of paintbrush work, nothing too crazy. But that's it, man. She's ready to go. Alright, guys. What do you think of that one? Quick little tutorial on how to do a banner and some lettering. Nothing too crazy, but just a little project wrap up. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with this one. I hope you guys did too. I hope you learned a little something. Look at this guy. Man. Quit staring at me. Alright, guys. And until next time, like, follow, subscribe. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Cheers. And still to come, guys, is the project wrap up, where we get to see this bike all assembled and brap brap. And guys, don't forget to check out the beginner series and the airbrushing hacks and plenty more tutorials coming on down the line.